All right, grasshoppers, you can stop the whining and crying. She is back after one long month. Geez, we barely survived. This is Jackie Long. Great to see you back. We missed you very much. Kathleen was very good. She was fantastic, your friend. You're two different people, that's for sure. You guys don't have the same personalities.
No, but she's fabulous. I'm glad she was able to be on the show.
Yeah, it's very good. So again, everybody, just so you're aware, Jackie, I've gotten to be friends with. I met her husband at a game coming back from Raleigh, North Carolina, the playoffs with the Rangers. He was a fantastic person as well, really like a motivating leader kind of guy. And I started telling him stuff I was doing. And then he mentioned what Jackie, his wife, was doing. So Jackie has a company called Jackie Long Hypnosis.com. It's your site. You can find her on Instagram, LinkedIn, and just here you go to her website, JackieLongHypnosis.com. So I like doing this always because in case there's any new viewers or listeners, can you explain what hypnosis is again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an altered brainwave state, but it's a very natural state that we go in and out of all day long. So your brain is cycling through different states all day long, right? When you first wake up, if you're driving, if you're focused on a task, if you're sleeping, you go through different phases. And so really hypnosis is just being in this altered state. And we this state in hypnotherapy so that people can work directly on their goals, focus on a specific goal at the subconscious level of the mind, which is a much more effective way to work on a goal most of the time than at the conscious level.
Right. You got me. Since you started talking about the subconscious thing, I realize more and more how important that is, right? Like the things you say to yourself, the thoughts you have. So I correct me if I'm wrong on this. So, okay. So if I'm teaching somebody, I meet somebody and they're very negative and they're saying bad things to themselves all the time. I'm saying, listen, if you stop saying negative things and start saying more positive things to you, your subconscious mind will hear that. And that's now how you would act. Is that accurate to say it that way?
Their subconscious mind would absolutely hear the new messaging, but it will be difficult on a conscious level to just say, being in this negative rut, just start saying positive things to myself and not fully believing it and hoping that things will change. It will be somewhat helpful, but what will be more helpful is you either have to do it repetitively for a long time until you start to believe it, or pair it with a high emotion, even if you have to fake that emotion in the beginning, like excitement, because your subconscious really attaches and grabs onto things when it's paired with high emotion. Right. Or even better, obviously, is to go to that subconscious brainwave state, go there, and then input the positive suggestions, which is what we do in hypnotherapy. That way, there's no filter. There's no critical filter of, hey, you're amazing. But if somebody's not in that place, their mind is going to go, no, I'm not. And it kind of just cancels each other out. Like someone, if they're in a really negative place, just doing positive affirmations can actually make them feel worse because they feel like, well, I don't believe this and this isn't working for me and I don't feel that way.
Interesting.
You have to work on it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, okay. What blocks you? So when you're now in a hypnotic state, there's nothing there to block those thoughts to get directly to your subconscious mind.
Yeah, that critical thinking factor is wide open. And so positive suggestions can go in there much more easily. Now, again, people still have, free will and things. They're not going to just accept any suggestion that goes into their mind, right? They're only going to, and I mean, I do this with my clients. I always put the suggestion, hey, your mind is only going to accept suggestions that are positive and beneficial for you. And I only tell them things based on what we've discussed, exactly what they're wanting.
Wow. Yeah. But we start off being negative, right? Is that accurate that you have more of a negative outlook on life from the start? Is that accurate to say that?
No, but it depends on who you are and what your experiences have been. I think everyone has, kind of like this positive ball of energy, this negative ball of energy. Which one's bigger for you at which point in life, right? You might be going through a negative period of time, dealing with a lot of difficult emotions. You might be going through a great period of time in life where things feel better. But it also depends on that programming, right, that happened between ages 0 and 7, particularly, and just life events, but also your perspective. But I'm going to say 0 to 7 because that's what builds that perspective or that lens. So if you have that more positive lens, even if something, let's quote unquote, negative or adverse happens to you later in life, you might be able to bounce back quicker or have a different view of it or forgive sooner. and have a more positive outlook versus somebody that maybe has a more negative lens, based on whatever beliefs, got into their mind when they were younger, and that's nobody's fault. It's just life. It's the way life goes. Yeah.
So we talked about this before for parenting. This has kind of opened my eyes up to it. I've already raised my 2 sons. I think we did a pretty good job of it, but like you can really be positive those early years, like really encourage them when they do something well to say, wow, that's a great job. You're really good at that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And conversely, you can be very negative on the person too and start them off in a negative way.
Yeah. And it really matters like what you say, how you say it, how many repetition, right? How many times you're saying it. And why it's so important with the parent is because the child looks to you as an authority figure. So at that age, anything you say, they basically blindly accept. So you could be like, you're amazing. And they're like, yeah, I am amazing. Like, they don't have that like adults do. Like, are you sure? I don't know. They just are like, oh, and then you can, I think instilling self-confidence in a child and self-love is like the best thing you could do because it's a struggle if you don't have that to work towards regaining that.
Right. And you think about our education system too, and I don't mean to blame people, but I don't think our educators understand that part of it for the most part. Maybe some do. It just seems like, the whole system's like having tests. You don't do well on the test. There's something wrong with you. That's really not you as a person. That's just the testing that you're doing, right? So
yeah, the system itself isn't great. Luckily, there are a lot of like really great teachers that will instill that in their students and know how to amp them up and motivate them and make them feel good about themselves, and who are so amazing. But yeah, the system itself is just, okay, take these tests. Oh, you got this grade. It's good or it's bad. So it's just so, one thing or the other. And it's not the best way for a child to learn, now I'm basing my self-confidence on a test grade. Like that's not really what matters.
Yeah. It's really not the person. Like we should be doing more like, listen, you're a fantastic person. You didn't do well in this test. That doesn't mean you're not a fantastic person.
Right. Should be instead, hey, let's figure out what your strengths are and you can just focus on those.
Yeah.
You can learn the basics of what you need to know in life, but maybe you don't need to, study math all the way till 12th grade if it's not your strong suit and you don't want a career in it.
Right. So, well, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of stuff like some of the math I've never used. I look back at some of the education I got.
That's what I mean, right? Like, yes, we need to know basics for sure. You want to certain things, absolutely. But if you're not going to like go on to become an engineer or like you really don't like math, like why do we have to keep studying it for even into college? Like they'll make you take some courses, even if it has, I was a psych major, still had to take math. Why? Statistics, yes, I understand. I needed stats, but math itself, like it made no sense. I didn't need that.
You've had me thinking like, I thought a lot more since I did my book. I thought about my past and my father, my grandfather, my mother, grandmother, and all their influences on me. But I've really gotten more specific since we started talking about certain instances that I can really remember when I was younger. There was one I went to a hockey camp and I didn't have the coach that was teaching us. It was some defensive drill. And I didn't have a name on the back of my jersey. It was just some sponsor. So that's all he knew me as. He was going to point me out as the sponsor on the jersey. And I would know who he was talking about. So I did the drill. I guess I did it right. It was a defensive drill. And he was all excited. He goes, way to work. And I can't remember the name on the jersey, but way to go, Laidlaw. And that has stuck with me to this day that he was so positive with me. I was like, wow, that was pretty good. Like he pointed me out in the whole crowd. And that was at a young age when I was just getting started playing sports. It was amazing how the influence it had on me that, wow, that was really cool.
Absolutely. Because you're young, you're looking to him, a coach, as an authority figure. So what he says, I believe that matters. And guaranteed you attach all your memories from childhood, typically have a strong emotion. So in that moment you felt, wow, I'm proud of myself. I'm excited. Someone's recognizing me. This is great. So
The other one I've told the story for, I don't think I've told you the story. My mother was a fantastic woman. She passed away about 26 years ago. She had a long battle with cancer, and she didn't swear very much. She was a small, quiet woman. I don't think she was even 6 feet tall or 5 feet tall. So we were playing lacrosse. Box lacrosse up in Canada is a big thing. They take the ice out of the hockey rink and play lacrosse inside the rink. So after the game, I was like 6 or 7 years old. This little boy goes over and knocks the soda out of my hand. I guess I'd done something to him in the game, and he wanted to fight me. And I'd never been in a fight at that point. So I just stood there, didn't know what to do. And everything died down. Walking out to the car, I didn't think much of it. And I can remember everything. I can remember how sunny it was, the gravel parking lot, the color of our car, the whole bit.
Yeah.
My mother looks around to make sure nobody else is looking. My mother, she says to me, "If you ever let somebody do that to you again, I'm going to kick the S out of you." Like she swore. And first of all, I'd never heard her swear. I don't think I ever heard her swear before. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I can't believe she just said that to me. She didn't want her son getting picked on, and I needed to stick up for myself.
Got it.
Then I turned into a little maniac fighting all the time.
Then she's like, "Oh no, what have I created?"
but it's really, but it's really true. I would not have made it well in anything I do in my life. I think it's not fair to say. I think more with the hockey. That was, I needed to stick up for myself and made it. And I think back again, I looked at my parents as I was growing up. I was like, I was fighting all the time. My dad was a 6'4" guy. He was never fighting. He was just this calm, steady, great father, great husband. And I remember looking down at him like, geez, he's not enough of a man, because he should be getting more fights or something. That was my logic back then when I was a teenager. And I look back now at my mother and father, just fantastic people. Like not as much even like saying certain things to me, just the way they led their life. And then I would, like you said before, they were the people I look up to. So the way they worked and how honest they were and how much they loved each other was really helped me a lot. Yes, it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean the example that they set and the way they live their life is as parents is just as important, if not more, than anything they've ever said to you.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, like the only things I think my father ever lectured me about, he said several times too. He says, "Nobody can outwork me." Like he would say, like I may not be the most talented guy. He says, "Nobody can outwork me," and that was pretty good. So Ira Matthew here, he's quite the troublemaker on our show. He makes, I think he does it intentionally. He doesn't spell properly, so he's being.
It does, no, actually, it can help you if you are not a good speller.
Oh, really? Hypnosis can? Is that right?
Yeah.
There you go, Ira. You better call Jackie up because you can't spell worth a lick. Kathleen was interesting. She was telling a story about one of her clients who couldn't sleep because her husband was snoring all the time.
Okay. And
I hope I got this right. She either, I don't know if she must have hypnotized this woman, but also I think she said she sent her home with a tape or a video convincing her that the snoring was soothing and relaxing and could she sleep to it. Am I saying that properly? Is that how she got it?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard her talk about this case, but that is something that could be done. So I could see her maybe doing this. So instead of, because if they've tried everything else, right, you can't control what someone else is doing. But if this woman is choosing to like still sleep in the same room, we could change how the mind perceives the snoring. So before it was disruptive, now it could kind of just be something in the background, like background noise, white noise. Like maybe we don't even notice it. It's calming, it's soothing. So yeah, I could absolutely see that Kathleen might have done something like that. Yeah, that could be helpful. Because
I was thinking then you could convince me that barking dogs are soothing and relaxing.
You could do that. Yeah.
In theory, you could, right?
We could. Yeah.
That's I thought about that too. But here's how my mind works and analyze. So I'm saying, okay, I believe this. I believe that you could convince me that the barking dogs are soothing and it wouldn't bother me anymore. Mm-hmm. But then my male ego kicks in, and I'm like, well, why am I doing all the work here? They're the ones with the barking dog, right? So when you hear that saying male ego, is there a difference between the male ego and the female ego?
I think it's all the same thing. I think that's maybe just a phrase that society uses to talk about like how men typically pose or show themselves in that way. But I mean, everyone has a side of the ego, and it's usually not like the nicest thing to see.
Do you have an ego?
Do I have? Everybody does. Everybody, like as a human, everybody does. I don't think to myself, oh, I have an ego. Like I don't like talk about myself. I'm not very like that, but everyone has one. You can't say that you don't,
So an ego is actually in some ways important to have though, right? You got to think highly of yourself, you got to pride yourself, right?
It's part of the mind. It's something that actually you just need as a human being. Again, part of the survival mechanism. We have these things for a reason. But I think the way like society talks about ego is that it's like this horrible thing. But there's different facets to that.
Right. When I was trying out for Survivor, I was in LA and they had all these meetings that we had to go to with producers and CBS people and everything. So Probst, the host, was in this first meeting I was at, and there was two women from CBS. So we talked for a while, we're joking around, and he's talking about losing my teeth and all this kinds of stuff. And he finally, right in front of me, turns to the two women. They said, "So what do you think? Do you like him?" And the one woman goes, "No, I do like him. He's confident, but he's not cocky." And the other woman goes, "Oh no, he's totally cocky." It's like, but yeah, I think I needed to be. It was interesting, the mind games for that. That was interesting, playing that game and all the I really felt like I trained my mind. I think I would do better now because of the things I've learned from you and others. But that was really, I really didn't realize how much, and if we talked about this before, how much if I elevated my heart rate, how much it changed the way I could remember things and everything.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because I think ego and being arrogant or cocky are in my mind different things, because I'm thinking of ego in the psychological sense, but I know what you're saying. And everyone has a little piece of that. And
right. And then there's different situations too. You may not be egotistical in one sense, but another way you're
right.
Did I ever tell you my empathy story I think I told you the empathy story from Survivor, didn't I? So same thing, they're doing all these testing on us, and a lot of it was psychological testing.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was funny. But did I tell you about this? You've probably seen it too. The video with the woman with the nail in her forehead. You ever see this? It was kind of like a public service announcement. And it starts off, there's a man and a woman, I assume his husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, and she's, venting to him. She's like, the stress is terrible. And they don't show her face yet. They're kind of panning around. And the stress is just awful. I can't take it. I have this pounding headache and everything. And you can tell the man sitting there on the couch, and he's got that look that we all get, okay, should I say something now, or does she just want to vent? Because I know what the problem is. So then they pan over to her face, and she's got the nail in her forehead. And you can tell he's got that look in his face like he's just dying to tell her that she's got the nail in her forehead. That's the problem. He knows he shouldn't do it, but he couldn't help himself. He goes ahead and says it. And she snaps. She goes, "You always want to just fix things." Mm-hmm. That is the hard thing between men and women, right? To understand, sometimes, well, men do too, but if women want to just vent, they don't want an answer. They just want to vent. So how does a man know when, do you do that with your husband? I shouldn't get too personal, but I mean.
Well, certain people, I think it's really depend. Sometimes certain people or a certain situation, certain people are more problem solvers. A lot of time men are, especially in relationships, want to be the problem solver and just kind of get to the point. I think that's just, the differences. And sometimes women maybe want to talk more or just get out the feelings, be validated. But I think there's a lot for everyone in terms of I think it's always good to ask sometimes, hey, do you want me to listen and be validating, or do you want me to really come up with solutions? Because it can be different for everyone depending on what they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think you're right. Men tend to be more, okay, you've come to me with a problem, I'm going to solve the problem for you, right? Instead of just realizing. Yeah. I think it's even hard for me. If somebody's come to me with a problem, to not try to help fix the problem. It's wow.
I think that's a societal training, to be honest.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I've met a lot of men too who maybe weren't raised in that kind of rough and tumble, you need to be a man, and they're very empathetic. It comes easily for them, and, all of that. So to me, it's a lot of environment as well.
Yeah. Growing up on the farm, if there's a problem, you go fix it. You don't sit around.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that either. We need both. We need validation and listening, and we need problem solving. So, everyone has different strengths that are useful.
Right. So I believe the story I'm about to tell you. So I'd like to hear your opinion. So I would not have probably believed it 5 years ago, but this friend of mine, this Rich Gabberty that I do the show with on Thursday, was telling me about this guy. I think it's Joe DeSantis. I think it is. He was paralyzed in the hospital. Doctors told him he'd never walk again. And the story is, he's a very successful man now, doing a lot of public speaking and motivational speaking, that he just willed himself to walk again, just kept telling himself he was going to walk. I really believe that's possible. I know that's an extreme, but I would not have believed that 5 or 6 years ago. I think I now believe the power of the mind, right?
Yeah, I've actually read many stories like that, and it's amazing. One of my professors had a similar situation. So I definitely believe that that's possible for certain people. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I can't remember if you and I had this discussion, maybe it was Kathleen or somebody else, that roughly people say that we only use about 4% of our brain. Is that accurate number?
I've always heard it's like 10%, but I don't know what's actually real or not and accurate about that, to be honest. Yeah.
But it is fair to say that we only use a small percentage, whatever that number is.
I think like in terms of a lot of times they'll say like the subconscious really runs about 90 to 95%, and we only use like 5 to 10% in the conscious sphere. So it basically showing us that there's a lot of untapped potential. And if we can get into that subconscious, there's so many more skills, resources, all these things that we have within us that, you could tap into.
Yeah, I totally believe that too. Like since I've learned more about my brain and my subconscious mind, thanks to you, I just realized, okay, I can train it more. Like if I go to the gym, it isn't necessarily all about the muscles. It's about training my mind as well. I'm forcing myself to do things that, like I try to always say, okay, if I'm going to do a set of 12, whatever, I try to put a weight on that I know that around 8 reps, I'm going to get tired. And my mind and my body's going to start telling me, Tom, well, you need to quit because this is, you're going to get hurt or whatever. And then I just train myself to say, okay, just get the 8, don't worry about 12. And then just get 9, don't worry about 12, just get 10. And I do that over and over. And it's just become now a standard thing. It's like, it's almost, I want to get to that state so now I can push myself through it. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been working with some young people too that I try to get them to break out of their comfort zone. This is a new thing for me. So this one young man, fantastic young guy, and when I first met him, he was really down on himself and everything. Worked together a lot and talked. He's really confident now. So I said to him, okay, now I want you to take something out of your life that you can survive without. I mean, it's making me make you a little bit more uncomfortable, but you can survive just fine. And I thought maybe it'd be something small, like not eat ice cream or whatever it was. And he went right to, he says, okay, I'm going to give up hot water for a month. So he just takes cold showers. Pretty impressive. And he was really happy about it too. Like he had really come a long way where he was willing to say, yeah, I'm going to push myself. I don't have, like, Tom's not telling me to do this. I'm going to do it myself. So he was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you still doing the no air conditioning over there?
Yes, I am. It's become like this. So like people are going like, why? They just don't understand why. I'm just thinking, honestly, it's become this thing where it's not what other people think. It's more like, wow, this is cool. Like, because I've gotten to the point now, I just don't even think about the heat. I just say, I don't say that I'm fighting through the heat. I just say I'm oblivious to the heat. I just don't.
Nice. See, you're training your mind to not even notice the heat.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Did I ever tell you that my father was a water witch, a water diviner? Do you know what that is?
You did. Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, like, that's another thing I think about. Like I just growing up, he was a water diviner, so I didn't think too much of it. But now that I'm learning more stuff, I think back and like, wow, how does that happen? One of the things I think about, how did he know he's a water diviner? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I guess you know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So is there a busy time of the year for you? Is this business of yours just 12 months out of the year? Just what it is? No holidays, not busier.
Sometimes it really depends on the year. Like sometimes it's busier around the holidays, sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's like a little lull in the summer during vacation time. Sometimes it's not. So it just like really depends who's coming across to me at what time, and but I've been busy, so it's good.
How do you get most of your clients? Just word of mouth?
A lot through word of mouth. And them just finding me on Google. Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, it is one of those things that I don't know if many people really understand what hypnosis is, right? It's like I was like that. Certainly, you've educated me what it's all about. So.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I think more people are getting into things like hypnosis, looking for other alternatives. And I mean, I do free consultations with everyone, people that want them. So usually a lot of people are like, hey, I'm interested, but like I have questions, which makes sense. So we do the consultation to kind of talk through really what the process looks like, what hypnosis is. It's like a curious subject.
Yeah, it is, right? Yeah. And like I said, I've learned that, I go to the gym because I want to be stronger. So it's the same thing with my mind. I need to train my mind, whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's hypnosis, whatever, train your mind, always get better. Just don't assume that that's as good as you're going to get. Like we're talking, we only use 10% of our brain. So you got a whole lot more there to work on to get better and better. Right?
Yeah.
It was interesting. I go to Todd's Point in Greenwich for March every day after the gym. And so I'm usually there at sunrise. And on Monday, the high school in Greenwich had the senior sunrise day. So all the seniors were showing up at the beach.
Nice. Yeah.
Kind of interfered with my, it's my beach, right? So
sure.
Yeah. This really nice elderly woman, I saw her on the trail. She had been talking to the young people, the seniors, and it was interesting that she was really enlightened. It seemed that she didn't realize this, that the kids were more saying, we just miss each other. Like we want to be around people and our classmates. So kind of sad, I guess, in one way, right? With this, I don't know, for like 2 years now, where I guess we're getting back to normal, but
yeah, absolutely.
So do you anticipate, so that kind of stuff happens again? You've talked about those years from 0 to 7 or 0 to 8. So for those kids that weren't in school or away from their friends and everything, I guess that's going to make a difference in their lives then too, right?
Yeah, it's going to be, whatever their experience was during that time. It just depends what went on. It could have been certainly positive. I mean, if you're really young, you probably didn't even know it happened. Your parents might have been animated and had fun with you, but yeah, you would have missed out on some socializing, but usually you can make that up pretty quickly at that age. So yeah.
Interesting stuff. Well, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
So we should have Kathleen, we'll have the three of us on at some point too.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, seriously, I've had a number of people comment to me how much they've learned, both you and Kathleen. Yeah, it's been great. I've certainly learned a lot too. So again, it's Jackie Long, hypnosis.com. You can see her on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You can go to her website, contact her. And like Jackie said, you can have a free consultation. I highly recommend it. Like I said, I recommend to people that they eat properly and go to the gym. And again, it's the same thing with your brain and your mind, subconscious, positive. I love dogs barking. I love dogs barking. I love dogs barking. So if I continue that,
you could say something to yourself like, when you hear dogs barking, it's just like white noise or like a sooth. Maybe it sounds like the ocean, or you don't even notice it.
Because I think about it myself. Part of it is I'm joking around, but the other part, it does aggravate me sometimes.
Right.
And I think, well, Tom, why does it bother you so much? That's part of the issue, right? Like struggling, going back and forth, thinking, well, yeah, it bothers me. They shouldn't be barking all the time. But the other part is, it's a dog. I love dogs, so it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I felt bad. So I'll tell you one quick dog story. So a new family had moved in, and they're walking. I guess I must have been in an aggravated mood with the other dogs. So they're walking their dog. Dog's really nice. Dog's got the leash on, but they're not holding the leash. They're just letting the dog walk.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the end of the world, but I said something to the husband, and I said, "Can you please put the leash on?" And he was very nice about it. He says, "Well, this dog's smarter than I am." And I was about to say, "Well, that doesn't mean too much." So I'm outside today. I'd gone to Costco. I'm taking stuff out of my truck, and he's walking by with a dog. Really nice guy. Walks by, and the dog's name is Bear. Comes up, and I pet him and everything. And this was the guy I yelled at. He ended up being a former hockey player. Played college hockey. And everything.
Oh, no way.
He knew who I was. The whole bit. I introduced myself. He knew who I was. And I'm like, oh God. It's just. Yeah. All right. Well, like I said, great to have you back again. Jackie Long, hypnosis.com. Jackie's going to be on she has been on every Thursday at 1 o'clock, or excuse me, Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Today, again, fantastic to see you. Please say hello to your husband for you.
I will. Thank you, Tom.
See you guys.
Bye.